The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, has denied reports that the federal government has commenced extradition proceedings against factional leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Simon Ekpa. In a statement issued by his Special Assistant on Communication and Publicity, Kamaruddin Ogundele, on Friday, the AGF said the reports misrepresented comments he made at a forum on Thursday in Abuja. The statement reads, quote, "The attention of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, has been drawn to media reports where he was erroneously reported to have said that the federal government had commenced an extradition process against Simon Ekpa." End quote. Let's also tell you that the Federal High Court in Abuja has adjourned the trial of former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello to June the 26th. Justice Emeka Nwite issued the adjournment after heated arguments between the prosecution and defense teams over the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission's request to cross-examine its own witness. The dispute follows the conclusion of cross-examination by the defense of the third prosecution witness, Nicholas Ojehomo, an internal auditor at the American International School, Abuja. EFCC counsel Olukayode Enito, SAN, sought to cross-examine the witness on the content of a Federal Capital Territory High Court judgment contained in a document already admitted in evidence. However, Defense Counsel Joseph Daudu, SAN, objected, citing the Evidence Act and arguing that the prosecution cannot cross-examine its own witness without first declaring him hostile. To other developments, the Nigerian military has attributed the majority of deadly attacks on farming communities across the country to foreign headers. According to the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Marcus Kangi, intelligence suggests that armed infiltrators from Sahel countries are entering Nigeria through its porous borders. While acknowledging the involvement of some Nigerian headers, Kangi emphasized that the preponderance of violence, particularly in Plateau and Benue states, is being driven by these foreign elements who are distinguishable by their language and appearance. In response, the military is calling for enhanced border security and community vigilance, while also pledging to intensify operations against all forms of violence. Let's have a conversation on this. I have two gentlemen, our security consultant, retired Group Captain Sadiq Shehu. We also have a counter-terrorism expert, Dr. Dixon Osage. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the news. Let's begin by establishing, first off, if you agree with, let's start with you, Dr. Osage. Do you agree that this has to do with foreign infiltrators mainly than the locals?
Well, I totally agree. Because when you look at the philosophy of our national borders, you understand that these foreign elements are capitalizing on the vulnerability of our national borders. And that is why it's very important for us to understand that a borderless country is a no country. If we don't have an effective border security, I tell you, our security forces will keep on engaging this criminal element in eternity. If we want to ensure that we bring Nigeria to a state of positive peace, we need to go all out to carry out a vulnerability analysis of our national borders and see how we're going to project mitigation factors to ensure that these foreign elements that pass through the government space are curtailed and brought to book. Because we can't have our military putting in their efforts on one side, and the vulnerability of our national borders is frustrating their efforts. I think the Nigerian immigration is only responsible for the protection of our border management agency, the Nigerian immigration section, should carry out a vulnerability analysis and advise the government on where to go in the porosity of our national borders and your government space, because your government space in Nigeria is highly disturbing.
Captain Shehu, several of our neighbors like Chad and Cameroon, especially those in ECOWAS, seem to have done something Nigeria alone isn't able to do. What does it take to implement an effective monitoring system and early warning capabilities? Captain Shehu,
is that my question? Hello?
Captain, yes.
Is that my question, please?
Yeah. Did you get the question, or you want me to?
Okay. Permit me to say first that I slightly agree with my colleague on the platform, Mr. Dixon. And I must say again, even the headline that is on your screen now, foreigners behind plateau. When I read the report, what the spokesman said verbatim, I think he was not this conclusory that the people are from, are from foreign countries. And I would, in my own, in my own way, I would caution against any conclusory statement which says that these people are not locals fighting themselves, but rather foreigners. When you look at the location of Benue and Plateau states, you are talking of the middle of Nigeria. So if you tell me that, foreigners from the outer fringes of Nigeria came through until the Arab Benue and Plateau and I find it difficult. And it is even more frightening to accept that, that conclusion, because what you are saying is that foreigners are coming into our territory, chasing Nigerians, taking over their land, and then, either staying there or disappearing. With due respect, I find that very difficult. And when I read the statement by the General Kange, I see him saying something like, they look like, it suggests. I don't think, these are things that I have been hearing. And it is really, really, frightening to think that foreigners can come and do these things and then disappear into thin air. Have we, I heard him saying that we have arrested them. If arresting them is not, an issue of saying their hair texture or their speech sounds like this thing, we should be having confirmatory, empirical evidence that these people are from such and such country. I do not hear us that. I may be, I'm not even talking about what the general said, but even when the governor of Benue is saying, he said they are foreigners, the Hausa they are speaking is not Nigerian Hausa, and all those kind of things. With due respect, I do not share that sentiment. And I think I would caution anybody about making such a conclusory evidence. If you have them arrested, we should be telling us that the people who arrested are from this and this country. But not talking about hair or talking about their language or talking about their distance. I do not share that sentiment. Thank you very much.
Okay, I was going to ask before I jumped on to the second question about, we have all these border patrol, we have border management, intelligence gathering, immigration, custom, national intelligence agency, and so much more when it comes to managing our borders and our security. And like Captain Shehu rightly highlighted, using those trademark is not enough. Foreigner or not, these headers are not ghosts. Is it so hard to track them down on our soil, Dr. Dixon?
Oh, thank you very much, Felicity. Fantastic point from Group Captain Sadiq, because I found it disturbing when we hear some senior officers coming on air to brief the Nigerian people that the people disturbing this country are perhaps foreign people or whatever. Security is achievable when it comes to crime prevention. You need to go after these criminals with speed and momentum and bring them to book, because you can't forecast and be telling Nigerians that they are XYZ people. Well, talking about our national borderline areas, the only way to go is for us to have a national coordination team, because as it is, I tell you that we don't have an effective coordination team within our government security forces, because everybody is just doing what they feel like. The immigration are carrying out their own responsibility, giving brief, the DSS are giving their brief, NSCDC giving their brief. I think when it comes to national security, we need to have a national command center whereby information sharing will be well coordinated for us to engage these people with on. In the happenings presently, I think it's an absence of intelligence gathering. And I tell you that we need to go back to the drawing board and analyze what the problem is, because it's so shameful that after 12 years on, after the emergence of Boko Haram, we are still curtailing with these criminal elements within our territorial space. Like you rightly said, they are not ghosts. I agree. These guys, they don't have military formation, they don't have military barracks, they don't have air power, they don't have a naval bases. They just come from your government space, stage an attack against our military, successfully load our military forces and get back to their government space and take shelter. So if we want to get things right, I think the Nigerian military should go back to the drawing board and analyze this tactical disposition, analyze this operational strategy, so that they will not, so that they'll be able to, bring these guys to justice and bring them to, and ensure that Nigerians, you and I, able to move around without being intimidated or being coerced. I tell you, I was unable to travel to my hometown some few months ago for the burial of my mother because the road was not friendly, simply because some group of criminal elements have invaded our territorial space. If we want to get this right, we must stage a war and declare a state of emergency against these criminal elements and eliminate them from our territorial space.
Captain Cheryl, some have said that the real reason this crisis has lingered is due mainly to political factors. It would seem that everything else is in place. Intelligence is there. Security is there. To some extent, we have the equipment, except it seems the political will to take decisive action. What is the way forward?
I think the way forward is an honest and frank discussion between the security leaders and the political masters. With due respect, when you speak with the people in the front lines, when you take to the military and the security top brass, you do not hear this thing that you are saying everything is in place. However, when the political masters are talking, they say everything in place. And with due respect, this everything in place, or using the correct term that was being used during Buhari administration, we have given them everything is there. But I am telling you that when you talk to the people in the field, you do not hear that. So I think there is no frank discussion between the political ministers.
I'm sorry, Captain, sir, before you go to talk on the way forward, what is still missing? What is missing that perhaps maybe the security agencies don't have even now?
What is missing, like I said, is frank discussion between the people who are supposed to give the military or the security agencies everything, and the security also looking them in the face and saying, if we don't have this, we cannot do this. I do not see that discussion happening. And this is what happens in other countries when there's a security problem. The military man or the security man is not a politician. He shouldn't be talking politics. If there are things they are missing, they should tell the people who are supposed to get these things for them. I do not hear that discussion happening, and I think that is the problem we have.
Dr. Sage, your 2 cents on this.
Well, I think we need to, bring Nigeria back to its glorious days, Felicity. It's so shameful that this criminal element will stage an attack against our military forces and they successfully dislodge our military. Last week, we saw some gory pictures how this Boko Haram elements, carried out an attack against 27 Capsule battalion. They successfully dislodged our military. What is the problem? I tell you that it's not about putting on the uniform. When it comes to the battlefield assessment, it's all about fire superiority. And our military needs to understand this fact, that if we want to engage these guys, we need to get more arms and ammunition for our fighters. But we must give our guys, officers and men, the kudos, because it's not easy for you to put your life on the line to protect the territorial integrity of this great country. But what we have presently is that our soldiers are trained so hard and dying so cheap in the hands of these criminals. So for us to get this right, the Nigerian Army Tactical Command needs to reassess its tactical disposition and also operational strategy. Ensure that these soldiers don't, spend more than 9 months in the battlefield so that they'll be able to come back home and unite with their family. And also they should be well catered for. Give them the right arms and ammunition. The last engagement I watched Boko Haram live, they were carrying out, they were engaged with a lot of GPMGs and PKC. Some of the arms they are carrying, our soldiers are not carrying those arms and ammunition. That is the truth. So I believe in our military capability and capacity, but we must ensure that our military are not being politicized, and every officer and men that have sworn to protect the territorial integrity of this country must be honest, and we must also search for those bad elements that are frustrating the efforts of our brave ministry, so that we'll be able to, put an end to this disgraceful
Dr. Sage and Group Captain Shehu, thank you both very warmly for speaking with us tonight. You're watching Tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. Federal government debunks reports of extradition proceedings against our pop factional leader, Simon Ekpa. Court adjourns to June 26, trial of former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello for ruling on EFCC bids to cross-examine witness. Pakistan vows there will be no de-escalation with India until it retaliates Wednesday's strikes from New Delhi. At least 78 criminals have been arrested by the Kano State Police Command between April 23rd and May 9, 2025. The Kano State Commissioner of Police, Ibrahim Bakori, made this known to newsmen in the state capital, Kano, while giving a scorecard of the command's activities. Bakori said the police recovered a large consignment of illicit drugs while arresting a notorious drug dealer with the name Suleiman Dawawu. He added that several dangerous weapons were recovered, including stolen items and vehicles used for illicit operations.
As he was earlier on arrested on 31st July 2022 by the command with 500 cartons of the same suspected tramadol tablet and charged to court accordingly. Similarly, following credible intelligence, a suspected notorious armed robber was arrested with recovery of 2 Beretta pistols with 10 rounds of live ammunition. In the whole, between 23rd April and 19th May 2025, the command arrested a total of 78 suspects and recovered various exhibits, including firearms, dangerous weapons, illicit drugs, and stolen properties. Below is the summary of major achievements recorded in the period under review. 5 armed robbery suspects, 7 suspected drug dealers, 1 suspected cattle rustler, 4 suspected fraudsters, 13 suspected thieves, 48 suspected thugs, endeavor. Recoveries: 2 Beretta pistols with 10 rounds of live ammunition.
Let's go now for a bit to the Niger Delta region. The Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited says its town hall meetings are to converge opinion leaders across the coverage areas for operational appraisals. At its engagement meetings with oil-bearing communities in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa State capital, PINL reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring that Nigeria's crude oil output maintains its rising tempo through its surveillance services. News Central's Biola Festus has more.
Historically, oil-producing communities in the Niger Delta have always expressed grievances over neglect and deprivation by oil companies operating in their areas, citing inadequate consultation in decision-making processes. Determined to change the narrative and bridge the gap, Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited institutes a stakeholders engagement platform to give the people a voice.
Pipeline infrastructure is making sense. Pipeline infrastructure is contributing to the development of Ijaw Nation with the support of our communities alongside all the critical stakeholders of Ijaw Nation. There is guarantee that illegal bunkering activities, pipeline vandalism, and crude oil theft on the eastern corridor, specifically on the Trans-Niger pipeline, will soon be a thing of the past.
Like their counterparts in Rivers, Imo, and Abia states, Bayelsans speak glowingly about the operations of PINL.
I am from Boma Kingdom. This is the only one I have seen. This is the only one that I reported. All the other 2 companies, I don't know their whereabouts. There is a community that has been identified as the community with the highest frequency of oil spills in the Niger Delta. And it falls within the operational area of Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited. And since they started this operation, there has been no oil spill. This is a landmark achievement.
Looking back on its achievements in just a few years of surveying the Trans-Niger pipeline, PINL is optimistic about Nigeria meeting the proposed 2.5 million barrels of crude oil per day projection.
If you have any vital information about any vandal, any of these thieves, give this information to the right persons.
get to us, we will come and pick them up, investigate very well, and persecute them. The president is serious about the 2.5 million barrels, and we are also serious about doing the needful to get to that point.
During the feedback sessions, attendees took turns to give their input, contributing to the way forward.
L, you are doing well. Continue to do well. But I will advise, because we are praising you now, giving you accolades, does not mean that you have to rest on your horses. If you do, we will come back for you.
They are doing well because the damages have been reduced, and that translates to the quantum of oil or materials that are made available. So if the very fact that there is massive increase in production shows that the pipeline companies are doing very, very well.
In Bayelsa State, for News Central, Biola Festus.
The Central Securities Clearing System PLC has held its 31st annual general meeting, highlighting its role as Nigeria's licensed Central Securities Depository. As stakeholders gathered, CSCS reaffirmed its commitment to driving efficiency, transparency, and investor confidence in the Nigerian capital market. News Centre's Nasir Agbalaya witnessed the event.
31st annual general meeting of your company, Central Securities Clearing PLC. I now declare the meeting open.
That was the official opening of the 31st edition of the Central Securities Clearing System PLC's annual general meeting. CSCS is Nigeria's Central Securities Depository, licensed to carry on depository, clearing, and settlement of all transactions in the Nigerian capital market. The board and shareholders deliberated on the company's audited financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2024, by adopting the reports of the directors, external auditors, and statutory audit. On the matter of declared dividends, 8,800 million naira amounting to 176 kobo or 1 naira 76 kobo per share was recommended to be paid to qualified shareholders whose names are on the register as of April 22, 2025. On the shareholders' request for more dividends, the board explained.
All of this is also tied to the work of the management, the environment in which they're operating, and the guidance of the board to ensure that the values are sustained while pursuing the dividends.
As a CEO and understanding investment banking and valuation of a company, I think it's better that shareholders focus on the valuation of the company in public markets, and by extension, the share price of the company is more important than dividend or bonus.
All present, physically and virtually, agreed that the company did well and even recommended that it expands across Africa.
The board is just about now to work with management on another 3 to 5 year strategy. We're coming to the conclusion of the current strategy. And of course, as part of that will be everything around growth, inorganic growth, whether that's organic and call it, an expansionary strategy. Away from that though, when you look across the continent and across the sector, capital markets in Africa, you are seeing what I call a natural coalition around expansion. As a result of the AFCFTA and as a result of what is a long-standing market-wide initiative around the African Exchanges Linkage Project, where you are trying to link exchanges together.
And so on that basis, we're actually on the right track. So yes, he's right. It's good for all of us to anticipate the kind of growth that we're already talking about. And I think by the next year, when we have the next AGM, we are going to see remarkable progress in that area as well.
We are working with the Ethiopian exchange to see how we can sign an MOU to build a CSD. We had started working with the Gambian exchange to build a CSD for them before now. But you see, the way CSDs work is that the interconnectivity is number one. Number two will be the investments you make to build those infrastructures. But certainly, that is on the card. But we'll only go to markets where we think it's going to be profitable. We will not just go because because it is said that we should cover Africa.
With increasing digitization, improved earnings, and strong shareholder backing, Central Securities Clearance System PLC aims to deepen its role in market infrastructure and investor confidence.
Thank you for staying with us. Rescue teams in Morocco are racing against time to locate victims after a multi-storey residential building collapsed in Fez, leaving at least 9 people dead and 7 others injured. The incident occurred overnight between Thursday and Friday, sending shock waves through the city and across the country. Local authorities reported that civil protection teams and emergency responders arrived at the scene promptly after receiving distress calls. Officials confirmed that the building had previously been identified as structurally unsafe and was under evacuation orders at the time. Such efforts are ongoing as crew comb through the rubble to ensure no one remains trapped or unaccounted for. Let's go to Asia now, where tensions between India and Pakistan are spiraling once again as both countries trade blame over a series of deadly cross-border attacks. Now, Pakistan's military says there will be no de-escalation with India until it has responded to New Delhi's Wednesday strikes. Pakistan has denied claims by India's armed forces that military stations in India-administered Kashmir, Jammu and other parts were targeted in drone and missile attacks. Pakistan's information minister says his country has engaged only in a defensive response so far to India's attacks on his country, with claims that India launched attack drones into Pakistan on Thursday, killing at least 2 civilians. At least 48 people have been reported killed so far, 32 of them in Pakistan. Adeni Kunu is an international journalist and policy analyst. He joins me now from Texas for this conversation. Thank you for giving us your time. 2 nuclear superpowers.
Thank you very much for having me.
2 super nuclear powers, Pakistan and India. What should we be expecting? What are your fears?
I think that it's a dangerous development, and I expect that the United Nations that had mediated for many years now should actually come to pull their weight and put their weight upon both countries for de-escalation. As far as we're concerned, the information we heard was that in April, particularly I think 20th or 22nd of May, we had an attack that resulted in the death of 22 Indians who were actually tourists in the obviously Hindu Indians who were on a tourism around the Kashmir area, which resulted in their death. And since then, nobody's listening to anybody. But let's understand that this 78-year-old problem between both countries should actually teach us quite a number of lessons. And one of the lessons is that countries at times fail to see the importance of mediation rather than just getting things, come this way. And that's a sad part. The reason it's a dangerous development is because both nations are nuclear power nations. And when you see that 2 nations have the capacity for what I describe as mutual destruction, collateral destruction, or superior destruction, they begin to have a lot of problems. And that is why Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State for the United States of America, have actually spoken that there should be some sort of, just try to put the olive branch in place. But don't also forget that the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has said that this is a matter that the United States of America cannot be directly involved in, and that they should try as much as possible to resolve the problems between both nations. And that is actually where the conversation is now. The U.S., although has too many problems on its table, but when you talk about 2 Asia powers, you have to be careful. We may not be able to argue the fact that India is about 1.4 billion in population and Pakistan is about just over 324 million. But the problem is actually looking at us in the face. You also want to talk about the land size. While Pakistan is about 881,000 square kilometers, India is well over 3 million square kilometers. So when you do a comparative analysis on the surface, you could say India will take Pakistan out. but we know what mosquito can do to any giant, if at all is able to get that particular thing into people's body. So let's understand that what looks at us in the eyes is something that can affect many other countries in that region. Let's also understand that we're talking about the second most populous country in the world. We're talking about India that has its tentacles across the nation. So if there's a nuclear power problem, as we speak, it's going to affect many other nations. So I think that the global heavyweights should begin to speak to both countries, particularly because Nigeria, as the most populous black nation in the world, has a lot of stake with India. And if anything happens to India, you're talking about pharmaceuticals, you're talking about a lot of other imports, Nigeria can be affected by that. So you're looking at the smooth, relationship between both countries. And let me tell you this also, that about 36 airports are already closed in India as I speak, and flights have been cancelled because obviously even the supposed superior country is afraid of the possibility of things happening. But let's also understand that India has its own concern. Since this war started, especially if you look at the turn of the century, the country called Pakistan has been responsible for a lot of open doors to terrorists and terrorism in terms of the people that have been grooming in that country. Let's not forget that Osama bin Laden was killed in India.
Let me just interject quickly and ask, what specific interventions are you looking at from international intervention? Is the crisis up to that point now that requires that intervention, especially when you look at Pakistan's statement that there will be no de-escalation?
Well, that's actually the problem with Pakistan as we speak. And it's also the concern we had. Do not forget that this problem did not start because India happened to be the aggressor. The aggressor, from all indication, happened to be Pakistan. And this is where I believe that a country like China, that is also in Asia, needs to speak with Pakistan because it's important to do so. Let's not deceive ourselves here. China is a major stakeholder in many countries of the world. The United States of America has a lot of concerns right now, and perhaps we have to also look at what the issues are regarding the president of the U.S. while he's not speaking strong to this issue. Number one, we have issue in Yemen. You won't forget about the fact that Ukraine is still there. Don't forget about the fact that we still have the Gaza problem. So the U.S. perhaps is concerned that if it takes on or it mediates or gets involved too much, it's going to be another concern for it. So that seems to be why President Donald Trump is not speaking to the power in terms of what he should say right now, or not even speaking at all regarding that. But for me, I am not comfortable with the statement of J.D. Vance, where he talked about it is not the U.S.'s issue. Let's say this. When a country becomes a global power and there are major issues that could destroy the world, I expect its leaders to speak to those issues and try to speak with them. But, we can't do much other than speak. Let's also understand that in both countries, we have citizens of other countries of the world dwelling. And if at all the escalation goes to a point where citizens of other countries get affected, it could be a global war. Let's not forget, the world has been reeling in pains of the wars happening here and there. So right now, the first is for further mediation. You've had Marco Rubio, Secretary of State for the U.S., speak to the issue. I expect Mr. Starmer of the UK to speak to this issue. I also expect China's Foreign Ministry to speak to this issue. I expect the European Union to speak to this issue. This is not the time to look away. Because if you look away right now, you're going to begin to have those that are within the circle of ammunition transfer and sales make more money at the expense of people's lives. The recent attacks resulted in 18 and 19 deaths in India and Pakistan, respectively. Not forgetting that there have been deaths also.
I mean, just listening to you, it's quite obvious so much is at stake and de-escalation is imperative. We'll have to pause for now, though. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a day. Thank you.
You too. What a short break. We have Perpetua standing by with the business update. Stay with us. Let's bring in Perpetua now for some business updates. When I hear electricity, I don't listen to the other part because we're currently paying through our noses.
You can say that again. But of course, this is a project that's aimed at addressing some issues. Number one, there is the water resource management issue. There is the water security issue. And just like you said, there is the energy security challenge. So these are the things that this $500 million project, of course, will address. Let's take a break and we'll come back to get more. The federal government has inaugurated a steering committee for the $500 million Sustainable Power and Irrigation for Nigeria project supported by the World Bank. At the launch in Abuja, Water Resources Minister Professor Joseph Usef said SPIN aims to improve food security, power generation, and climate resilience. The project targets 500,000 hectares of irrigated farmland and 30 gigawatts of sustainable energy. It builds on the success of the Trimming project and includes components on institutional reform, dam safety, irrigation modernization, and project management. Moving on, Nigeria's Finance Minister Wale Edun has assured stakeholders that further updates on the Naira for Crude Oil initiative will be provided in due course. At a meeting of the Technical Subcommittee on Crude and Refined Product Sales in Naira, Edun praised interagency collaboration and noted progress on implementation milestones. The initiative aims to stabilize the Naira and strengthen domestic energy trade frameworks. And the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria has commissioned a new domestic cargo terminal at Lagos General Aviation Terminal. Spearheaded by Aviation Minister Festus Keyamo and FAN's Cargo Development Directorate, the facility aims to modernize logistics and enhance Nigeria's export capacity. FAN MD Olubunmi Kuku, represented by Director Joy Agumbiade, led the commissioning. The terminal aims to improve cargo handling efficiency and support rising e-commerce and agricultural exports by reducing logistical bottlenecks, thus marking a strategic step towards strengthening Nigeria's cargo infrastructure and supporting nationwide business growth. To the stock markets now, Friday's session bucked the trend as broad-based profit-taking ended the week's 4-day winning streak. However, the NGX wrapped up the week with a strong breakout, closing at 108,733.40, well above the resistance zone that had capped recent rallies. Now taking a look at the All-Share Index, I already told you about this one, and it's down 0.46%, with market capitalization also down 0.46% and closing 68.339 trillion naira. You can also call that 68.34 trillion naira. Now let's go to sector performance. For sector performance, all sectors closed in the red territory today. Let's begin with the market index. It's down marginally, I dare say 0.01%, and you can of course blame that on profit taking in Access Corporation and Fidelity Bank. Away from that, we have the insurance also down, we have the oil and gas sector also down, and consumer goods also down by 5 basis points, and you can blame that on Nigerian breweries. Finally, we have industrial goods, and you have WAPCO to blame for what you have right there, down 18 basis points. And that's a wrap on business tonight. I am Perpetual Fasome Peter. Tonight continues.
Udoka joins now for sports stories. We had dashed hope for athletes, visa delays.
Yeah, of course, for Nigerian athletes who are supposed to represent at the World Athletics Relays. Sad news reached Nigerian athletes yesterday because the visas were not approved. And when they were eventually approved, it was too late for these athletes to travel. I'll give you more details shortly. Now, the Athletics Federation of Nigeria demands financial compensation following Team Nigeria's first withdrawal from the 2025 World Relays in Guangzhou, China, due to severe visa delays by Chinese embassies. Despite early applications in Washington, Berlin, and Abuja, visas were only granted on the 8th of May, the same day the team was due in China, making travel impossible. The AFN cited excessive documentation demands, inconsistent application of rules, and administrative confusion by Chinese officials. The withdrawal caused financial losses, disrupted training plans, and denied athletes key qualification chances. AFN President Tonobok Okowa called this situation a diplomatic failure and urged World Athletics to reconsider how host nations are selected to ensure fair access for all. And to Nigeria Football Premier League now, of course, it was Fidelis Ilechukwu who has signed a contract extension with Rangers International, keeping him in charge as head coach until the end of the 2026 season. The new deal was finalized after a high-level meeting with the club's general manager and CEO. Ilechukwu, nicknamed the Working One, led Rangers to the Nigeria Premier Football League title in the 2023-2024 season, cementing his status as one of the top coaches in the league. His extension signals the club's confidence in his leadership as they aim to build on recent success. Let's talk women's football now. FIFA has confirmed the Women's World Cup will expand from 32 to 48 teams, starting with the 2013 edition, mirroring the men's format. Now, the FIFA Council unanimously approved the move, citing significant global growth in women's football. The expanded tournament will feature 12 groups, increasing total matches from 64 to 104 and extended the event by an additional week. While the 2027 World Cup in Brazil will still feature 32 teams, hosts for the 2031 and 2035 editions are yet to be confirmed. FIFA says the former change aims to reflect the rising competitiveness and reach of the women's game, offering more nations the opportunity to participate on the global stage. Now to golf, Charlie Woods, son of 15-time major winner Tiger Woods, will have to wait another year to compete in the US Open after failing to advance in local qualifying. The 16-year-old shot a 3 over par 75 at Wellington Golf Club in Florida, finishing 7 shots short of earning 1 of 5 spots for the 36-hole final qualifier set for June 2 at the Emerald Dunes. This was his second attempt at qualifying following an 81 in last year's local round. Despite missing out, Woods remains an emerging talent, having won a U.S. Junior Amateur qualifier in 2023. His father, Tiger Woods, a 3-time U.S. champion, is expected to miss the rest of the season due to a torn Achilles tendon. Wrapping up with the world of tennis, Emma Raducanu advanced to the Italian Open third round after a dominant 6-2, 6-2 victory over Swiss lucky loser Jill Tekman. The British number 2, who was yet set to face Russia's Ekaterina Alexandrova before a late withdrawal, quickly adapted to Tekman's left-handed play despite limited preparation. It marks Raducanu's first time reaching the last 32 in Rome and a second consecutive win on outdoor day, and of course signaling growing confidence on the surface. The 22-year-old continues her comeback after recent struggles with injury and form. She will now face Veronika Kudermetova, ranked 50th in the next round. Raducanu's tactical focus and improved footwork have been key in her clay court progress this season. And that's a wrap on Sport Update. I am Udoka Njoku. Back to you, Felicity.
Time for entertainment, and Daryl is here to give us all the latest. I hear black smoke is an issue.
Yes, black smoke is causing a bit of problems because Kanayo has come out to speak, and I'm going to be giving you the details about that shortly because Nigerians also reacted to what he said.
Okay.
All right. Veteran Nollywood actor Kanayo Okanayo has questioned the Catholic Church's use of black smoke to signal an inconclusive papal election, suggesting it may reinforce negative stereotypes about black people. In a video posted after black smoke appeared during the conclave to replace Pope Francis, he urged the Church to reconsider such symbolism in light of modern cultural awareness and inclusivity. His remarks have sparked online debate, with many discussing the deeper implications of long-standing religious traditions and the need to reevaluate their meaning in today's society. So, Felicity, this was quite a conversation. They're like, okay, he's saying that the black, it depicts a certain light. It takes the black people in a certain light, using that as a symbol of something being inconclusive.
If they pick another color, the trans community or the LGBT community will say this color depicts this. If you pick another color, yes, there are some traditions that require changing, but there are just some that he might have his reasons. I mean, there are reasons, but is that a real issue right now?
Well, a couple of Nigerians were on his side. We went to social media to check out responses, but some people could understand his perspective. But some say, like you said,
I do get it, but is that a conversation right now? Is it of is there any urgency to it? I mean, typically the devil is depicted as black.
Black.
The color is black.
Yes.
So does that mean that everybody, we blacks? Anyway, that's just me thinking aloud.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk about some very interesting conversation that happened today. A major development has shaken Diddy Combs' federal sex trafficking trial as a key witness known as Victim 3 had gone missing just days before opening statements on May 12th. Now, prosecutors revealed that they've been unable to reach her or her lawyer, despite her pivotal role in the case alleging prolonged abuse by Combs. While her disappearance has raised concerns, the prosecution will proceed with 4 other key witnesses, including Cassie Ventura, that's Diddy's ex-girlfriend, who her testimony on rape and trafficking is central in the case. Jury selection is nearly completed, and the high-profile trial continues to draw intense public scrutiny. Felicity, what do you have to say to this?
For audience that is not Nigerian, there's something we call willy willy. It happens when you appear and disappear. You know, it's like magic. So we don't know what's going on, but it's looking like the Nigerian willy willy kind of thing. Just appear, you disappear when you are most needed.
So you think it is a sprinkle of Nigerian factor going on there?
I don't know. I'm just kidding around.
Well, we'll see how the case unfolds. I will definitely bring you guys the update as well. That's all on Entertainment Tonight.
And that's all we have for you tonight. But before we go, a quick reminder of our top stories. The federal government has debunked reports of extradition proceedings against IPOB factional leader Simon Ekpa. Court adjourns to June 26 trial of former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello for ruling on EFCC's bid to cross-examine its witness. Pakistan has vowed there will be no de-escalation with India until it retaliates Wednesday's strikes from New Delhi. We'd love to hear from you. Please send us your eyewitness report. The number to do that is on your screen right now. You can also follow us on social media to do that at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Go TV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Good night.